It's good. Mark, where are you sitting right now? Where's the office?
I'm at the headquarters in Phoenix.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So everybody's hot, sufficiently warm. Yes. Okay. Good. Good, good. What a day.
Give me a few hours. Give me a few hours. I will be in the full country.
Oh, this
that's
is the
right.
day. That's right.
It's Friday.
It's
Friday.
Friday.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
That's fantastic.
I'll be out on a site evaluation this afternoon.
Site evaluation. I like it. That's
Annexing another county in, aren't you?
Supervisor Miller's smart. Well, he sweats it out here with us, and during the week he gets to drive up north a little bit to go hang out in a cabin and do a bunch of honeydews, I think, during the weekend.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is.
I figured out last week, all I have is 2 places to take care of now. So,
perfect. Well, look at this.
I didn't really think this one out.
Look at this group. I mean, we've got mayors, we've got council people, we've got newly elected people. Goodness. Wow, hundreds of people. I can't even, I'm so excited. We got a lot of business people from Pinal County. We've even got some interlopers from Maricopa County. This is very exciting. Well, hundreds of people. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, Harold. Harold, why don't you kick us off here?
Right, we'll get going here. Thank you all for joining us. It's always an exciting day in Pinal County. We had a nice little lightning storm last night. We got a little shower. Those of us are fortunate enough to live in Pinal County. I got up this morning, the aroma that comes off the desert after these rains, we have not had for a long time because we haven't had any rain, but it was wonderful this morning. So we enjoyed it. I know a lot of you are going to be jealous this morning that you do not live in Pinal County, but you're coming and we're trying to get ready for you, and we'll be set to go. The great program that we have in store for you today, this is a really diverse program that we've tried to put together, bringing together the medical side of what's going on in our world, a lot of the bigger things that are going on and from the standpoint of employment with Nikola, and then of course the issue that underlines all of our efforts is the whole issue of water, and that's where Supervisor Miller is doing such great work for us. We normally would be streaming our memberships and so forth across the screen for you to see, but we had a little technical difficulty, which we'll make up. Melissa's going to make up for that by sending you some little extra things that we're going to do for you. But I do want to mention just real quick before we start, I want to mention the renewing members and some new members that have joined. In the platinum category, Harris Action Casino has renewed their membership. In the silver, Southwest Value Partners and Westland Resources. In the government category, which is always interesting, those of you who are not members of Pinal Partnership, you're going to see that virtually every town and city is a member of Pinal Partnership. So as you want to develop relationships and find out who's doing what, you're going to see every mayor here. I think all the mayors are on today, but in the government category for renewing, the city of Apache Junction, city of Eloy, the town of Queen Creek, the city of Maricopa, the city of Casa Grande, the town of Moran, the town of Superior, and the city of Coolidge. So in nonprofit category, the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, and then a new member who is if I remember, was a member at one time and has come back into the fold, is Wilmig Construction. So thank you all for being part of this breakfast this morning. We're 250 strong in the meeting today, which is great to see that many people turn out. And if you're not a member, again, and you're looking to do business in Pinal County, or you are doing business in Pinal County, or you're just wanting to come and hang out with us, get a hold of Melissa or I, and we'll figure out how to get you into the fold. I do see real quick, I do see most of the mayors here. Mayor Mila up in Superior is on with us this morning. Mayor Walter from Florence, I see she's here. Mayor Thompson and Coolidge, Christian Price over in Maricopa, Mayor McFarland and Casa Grande, and the newly elected mayor of Eloy, Michael Powell, has joined us this morning. So welcome and thank you again for being here. So let's introduce the panel. We've got a great program. This one is really a diverse program, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So let me introduce them real quick. From Nikola Motors, the head of global manufacturing, Mark. Mark, pronounce your last name for us before I kill it.
I'll answer to almost anything, but it's pronounced Duchesne.
Okay, Duchesne. All right, a nice Irish name, I can tell.
Of course.
Okay, and then Supervisor Steve Miller, who's going to be talking about the water issues that he's been putting so much effort into for the last several years, and so he'll update us on that. And then we're really privileged today to also have with us Dr. Anna Moran, the Barrow Neurological Institute. She's a clinical associate professor, and Supervisor Miller, I know neurologically we did not do this on purpose for you, but maybe we should have. So we're really glad to have you here. So, and then the moderator for today's program is, of course, Jordan Rose. Jordan?
Oh, thanks, Harold. All right, I'm going to save you, Supervisor Miller, from Harold's bad jokes and come up with some of my own.
Sorry, guys.
Just kidding.
I'm used to the abuse, don't worry.
I'll come up with some worse ones. So what a panel, right? We're putting together, I bet this is a first maybe ever. We're putting together a global pandemic with water expert, leader of water, saving water in Pinal County in our state, and our biggest employer, or will be one of our biggest employers, if not our biggest employer, and an innovator in Nikola and Mark. So thank you three for participating today. We're certainly not going to leave the audience bored, and I tried to struggle with who I should go to first with all these three important people, and I'm thinking we're going with global pandemic. So Dr. Moran, I have been very blessed and privileged to get to work with you. I think we've talked or interacted every day for the last, I don't know, 6 or however long this has been going on through the company that you're the medical director at now, HealthyVerify certification. And it's been really my privilege, my greatest privilege. I wanted you to talk to us though today about what you think the current state of COVID in Arizona is. Are you feeling a little more optimistic than you had been? Are we doing the right things? All of that kind of stuff. So give us your front lines, and thank you for all the services you're giving to our community.
Well, good morning. I'm very honored to participate in this breakfast. So going to your question, in terms of the global pandemic and the effect that it has had in Arizona, as most of you know, for about 3 to 4 weeks, we were actually the subject of national and probably international news also, because we became a global pandemic hotspot late June, early July. So far, Arizona has had just a little below 200,000 cases, 196,000 as of yesterday morning, with 4,600 deaths. Whereas in the whole United States, it's been 5.5 million with 174,000 deaths. Things are getting better in Arizona, and you can see that on the data, both from multiple sources, but the most important ones I look at are the ADHS and the New York Times tracking of cases. So since a number of statewide and local measures were implemented, such as masking, community mask wearing, social distancing, the closure of certain businesses, etc., we have actually nicely reduced the number of cases per day. And we're actually the subject of attention because we are one of the few states where the trend of cases per day is actually going down. In fact, the R0, some of you may be familiar with the term, which is the number of cases that come from or number of people who get infected from a specific case, has gone down below 1, which is actually a a nice hint that we will continue, if we continue to do the right things, we will continue to see a decrease on the spread of the infection. Also, the number of deaths is slowing down, and the number of hospitalizations due to COVID-19 has gone down significantly by 30% since the peak in early July. So I think overall, with the effort that the community is putting and the sacrifices that we Arizonians as a community are doing, we are improving the situation in terms of the COVID transmission in the community. And that is a good thing, not just on the health department, it's also a good thing for the economy, because if we do the right things and we open businesses the right way, we can continue to safely advance towards what I think for a while will be a new normal. And speaking of what's going to be the new normal for a while, what's really going to make a difference in terms of being able to go back to our state or the status in January 2020 is probably going to be an effective vaccine that will be widespread or that will be distributed at the population level. While amazing progress has been done, not just in the United States, but also in the world, in the progress or in the process of finding a vaccine, an effective vaccine, we're still a long ways from widespread distribution of the vaccine. Probably we will have a one or two, hopefully three good candidates. Right now we have phase 3 studies going on 2 candidates here in the United States, both of which are part of the Operation Warp Speed by the government. And we'll probably have an answer by December or January, and then they'll start distributing the vaccine. So the next year probably looks a lot like it's looking right now, where there is a community-wide concerted effort to quiet the transmission of the infection. And we'll see probably what the epidemiologists predict is sort of waves with peaks and valleys. Right now, we're probably reaching a valley in terms of a low number of transmission. But as you know, flu season is coming, and if the numbers continue to improve, schools will start opening more. And so we will definitely see, and businesses open up more as well. So that will bring a spike on the cases, but we will know better in terms of how to open businesses on a phased way, continue to wear masks out in the community, which actually has made a big impact, as I mentioned earlier. And then we might have to tighten up again measures and then open up again. And that's probably going to be the next 11 to 12 months. And then I can't predict farther than that. It's hard to tell. It depends on how the vaccine works. If it's going to be a vaccine that requires more than 1 dose or a yearly vaccination like the flu, that's still up in the air. I am cautiously optimistic based on what us as a community have done so far to control the disease. That shows that we know how to do it. And I feel strongly that it should be a goal to open up essential aspects of the economy, which includes schools, interestingly, because parents need to go to work and they can't if they have to take care of children who are home because the schools are closed, and other kinds of businesses also, but in a phased way and with the proper health measures. And that's actually one of the missions of HealthyVerify, the company that I'm the medical director for.
Thank you, Dr. Moran. That's very helpful, and thanks for all your service. We'll come back and talk a little bit about bars and restaurants and schools and what to do there in a bit. But Supervisor, let's go to you. And I know there's lots of things that we could ask you about with the county, but today we want to focus really on your efforts and your leadership with water. Can you give us just just bring us up to date with the latest? As I know you and your committee have been working incredibly hard, just tirelessly really on all of those issues.
Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah.
Yes. I kind of just wanted, the first question you guys sent me over here is, how is the working group going that Representative Cook put together? And in a word, I think it's going great. I mean, we have continued to meet. We have approximately 70 people that are are included in that group. We tried to include just about any and all industries or businesses that are affected by water and water policy. And that has worked out really well. We broke it down into some smaller groups of late to drill down on some specifics. The Department of Water Resources has always honored anytime we've asked for a meeting. And when I say us, meaning my two colleagues, Bill Garfield and Jake Linder King, my co-chairs, which I can't thank them enough for their efforts, and I'll kind of talk about that in a minute. But anyway, the department has been open to our requests for meetings to clarify questions and policies. And so I'm very, very excited about the fact that we can come up with a solution at some point. Will it be tomorrow? No. And this is going to be probably a good, I would guesstimate about another year before we put some real solid policies in front of the department for their consideration to establish new guidelines for the Pinal AMA. And that's really kind of where it's at today. So I can get down into more. Do you want me to go ahead and go?
Yeah,
through
you know,
all of it?
I wonder if and I see that someone did write questions and send them to you. It wasn't me, but I can read those too. And
I don't see them, so.
Talk to us about what it looks like for water rights in our home building industry and our development industry. Do we have an issue now in terms of the department not approving things and causing a standstill, or will we have an issue in over the next years? What's the status there?
Well, we have an issue. I mean, this whole committee would not have been formed had the Department of Water Resources said no more certificates of assured water until things are resolved. I mean, that's a given. We know we're at that point. The whole idea that you were able to move forward with these analysis to certificates has basically been squashed at this point in time. So until we can establish a new method or a new path to get those certificates handed out again, we're going to be stuck with that for a time being, and it is we're stuck as far as being able to receive new certificates of assured water. So and there's a lot of details that go into this as far as how does the ag interact with the development community, which I think everybody in this group would know and understand that developers have purchased properties and they have taken and then leased them back to farmers for these to keep the ag status tax benefits to that. It's very, very complicated at that point. But anyway, to the point of will we get this thing solved? I believe we will. But it's not going to be simply through conservation. It's not going to be simply from purchasing of new water. It's not going to be just a one thing fixes. It's not going to be a silver bullet that fixes everything. So we have to explore all the different paths, which is kind of where we're at right now with the Department of Water Resources. We've had a lot of discussion and talks about stranded wells, unmet demands, and that's the key word to almost all of these conversations are the unmet demands. And so anyway, with the department, I'm going to get down in the weeds just a little bit. We've asked them specifically about, well, if I'm a water provider, such as Global Water or Arizona Water or City of Eloy, I'm obligated to continue to deliver water. So you're showing one of my wells as being a stranded well or one that's going to be have unmet demand. What's the process for me to even extend that life of that supply? Well, they've asked us to put together specifics of the specific well. What would you do? Would you deepen it or would you relocate it? So we're trying to develop 3 or 4 scenarios that we can put before the Department of Water Resources and see how they approach it and see what the outcome will be. That'll give us some guidance on future, because it doesn't just affect water providers. It also can affect the ag community as well. So there's some nuances there that we've got to understand where the department will come on those types of issues. I think another thing that's really, really important with this whole aspect is we are going to need to bring water into the community. Or into the AMA. And there's some real challenges there, because the statutes, where I think we're going to end up in front of the legislature at some point, there has to be a way to finance that. And because the large dollar amounts that are required to deliver adequate amount of water for these types of uses is horrendous, and nobody's walking around with a checkbook that fat that they can just write a check for it. So I think, I'm hoping and I'm thinking that maybe an agency similar or PICWA might be one of those that can act as that fiscal agent to broker that part of the program in the future, because we're going to need to have to bring water in as one of the other elements as far as solving this problem in Pinal County.
Well, thank you, Supervisor. I think that you and I see Representative Cook is also here today, and thank you for your leadership in appointing these guys to lead this effort. And when you say that you would potentially put PICWA or somebody in charge of that, are you talking about actually piping the water to Pinal County?
Well, there's a lot of issues with that, and I say issues because, can we bond for infrastructure that might be able to transport that water? So that's one of the elements that will need to be done going forward. That doesn't have anything to do with even the purchasing of it. It's just how could you get it from one place to another place, and so that's an element that we have to work on. That's very unclear, statutorily, legislatively, whether we can or we can't do that. So that's an aspect. I think for a spin-off to that, one of the things that I've had my GIS people do at the county is we've taken an interactive map that has identified ditches throughout the county that might act as transports in the future. We also are still working with the federal government to drill those wells for the future for ag. So that aspect is still going on. There's just a lot of moving parts to this thing. So, and if can I add one other thing a little bit off of that exact topic, but I want to tell you, we are very, very, very fortunate to have Bill Garfield and Jake Linder King as my co-chairs. Those two men are actually the brains of the operation. I'll just be real honest with you. Bill has such a great knowledge and understanding and institutional knowledge of what has happened the last 35, 40 years. And he has a great rapport with the Department of Water Resources. He can call over there and they pick up the phone and talk to him, and we have to keep that line of communication. Not that Jake doesn't either, because he does as well. But I look at these two guys as I have Bill as the institutional knowledge, and I've got Jake as the innovative thinker. I mean, he comes up with some great ideas and thoughts. Which ones will stick? Which ones will we use in the future? But he's a joy to work with because he has such an innovative ideas in mind to move forward to try and solve this problem. I couldn't have two people better equipped to work on these issues going forward. So whatever happens with this thing is really because of those two men right there.
Well, you three make a perfect pair, so I think they really set this up for success. And I think the best thing, the most positive thing that you said is you do believe that this will be solved, and that you do have, you know, three smart people and then hundreds of other people involved in trying to do that. So thank you for that, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about the details. Hey, Mark, we want to talk about Nikola, and I think that makes everyone smile. I see the mayor of Coolidge is here. The whole city of Eloy looks to be social distancing and masked there in a conference room, and same with Larry Raines there in Casa Grande. I know everyone's celebrating the fact that you're here in Pinal County. Can you give us a little bit of a update on not only the company and where you're at as a company, but also where you're at in your construction and preparations to produce the trucks here in Pinal County?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having me. I have to admit, I answered immediately when I read the word breakfast. I didn't see the virtual part till after, but I'm still really happy to be here. I am, you know, I do respond to food. Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to be with Nikola, and I'll start off by saying I'm not a long-time server at Nikola. I've been at Nikola for now a total of 3 months. And part of the reason for that is that Nikola is a really young company. But the majority of the work that's gone on at Nikola before my time has been the development of the truck and the development of the technology. So the guys have been working really, really hard to develop the, first off, the battery electric vehicle, and working now on the fuel cell vehicles. And we're lucky that we have a great partner in Iveco, a company that is in Germany that has produced trucks for 100 years. So they're a really strong partner for us, and it allowed us to do a lot of our development work that is being done right now in the city of Ulm, Germany. And that's the core part of the truck. And the core part of the truck is very similar to every other truck that's on the road. But the secret sauce, that's the Nikola part. So the secret sauce is the powertrain and the battery technology, and the way to make those trucks actually perform as a battery vehicle, and then you know, following with a hydrogen cell vehicle. And I'm lucky that I work with a lot of smart guys, and I would like to say that the smart guys do the smart guy stuff, and I build the factory and build the trucks later. I have the easy job by far, which is the way I like it. So I think if anybody's been following the news, you know, quite often I find out what the developments of our company are when I check Twitter, because our chairman is very, very much out there. He's very open, and he shares a lot. So if anybody's been following, we've added now another new product to our lineup in refuse trucks. We're really excited to be working on that. The first prototype vehicles for Nikola are almost completed now in Germany, and they'll start their test cycles in Germany. And there's a lot of work that goes in. So typically there is, you know, 5 or 6 years of development in a new vehicle before you ever start to build it. We've gone at lightning speed to be able to get these vehicles actually built and onto the testing. The testing is what proves out the technology. So there's still a few more months of that to go. But those trucks will be finished and out and running and collecting data very, very shortly. As well, we are working on building up our capability to build these trucks. So not only in Coolidge, we'll also build these trucks at our facility in Germany as well, with our partner Iveco. And those trucks in the beginning will be coming to the US, and then eventually they'll build trucks for the European market while we build trucks for the North American market here. So yeah, a lot of really exciting work going on here right now, as well as our, we have our other products being the power sports part. Those are moving along very quickly, and super exciting to be working for a company that not only builds trucks, but also builds, a lot of fun stuff too. So all of that is going on at the same time. And it's moving pretty quickly. As for my part, the construction, which I think is probably what everybody's really interested in. As you know, we had our groundbreaking. And by the way, Mayor, I have your shovel. I'll get it to you sooner or later, as soon as I get out there to visit you. We had our groundbreaking, and then we went right to work. So a lot of the work that goes on right now is hard to see. And if anybody has followed the social media stuff, you'll notice that there's been a lot of people that expected to see steel being erected out in the middle of the desert 2 days after we did the groundbreaking. And that doesn't work that way. There is literally thousands of hours of work that goes into engineering and permitting and making sure that we do this the right way. And that's all moving honestly at light speed compared to most construction projects. We have started the site work out there right now, and if you're ever past the site, you'll see that we're starting the general contractor, Wallbridge, who is they're an international contractor and have probably the most experience in the world at building automotive type facilities. We're super lucky to have them because they're just finishing up the Lucid project, and then they're moving over to us. So we have we really got a great opportunity to reduce our costs and to have people that are already in the community and already well established in this area. And we count ourselves really lucky to do that. I've never had a project that has done that. So that work is starting off, and we're really moving quickly with that. And I'm really excited that Supervisor Miller talked about water first. Because I have to admit that when I joined Nikola and started this project, I really had no idea about the water issue. And I really didn't have an appreciation or an understanding of it. But we committed to being a very sustainable manufacturing center. And if you're going to be sustainable in manufacturing in this county, boy, you better know about water. Because it's going to be an important factor. So we have been schooling ourselves pretty much every day on water, and we're working really, really closely now with our general contractor, but as well we're working with, and I think Mr. Darrell Wilson is actually in this group. We're working really hard with Hilgart Wilson because they have local knowledge. They know what's going on in the county. They're helping us come up with a sustainability roadmap that allows us to make the right water decisions when we make them. So we're working through that, as well as working with the local water providers in the area. And our water plan is moving along nicely. As far as the construction, as I said, construction per se, as the actual physical part of construction, is moving really quickly. We should start seeing steel going up towards the end of this year. And that construction will carry on right through until the end of next year. And we will start producing trucks guaranteed by the end of next year, but we're really hoping to push that up and actually start much sooner.
Wow, that's awesome. That is just awesome. What, how many people will you employ once you're up and running?
So we're going to build the factory in 3 phases. So the first phase of the factory will be just the assembly, which what that means is that the parts will actually be the parts will be put together into containers in Europe, and then the parts will be shipped here. We will take those parts and then we will assemble those into a truck, and we will test the truck. That first phase will probably carry us around 300 or 400 people. We're still working on the detailed plans for that. And then our phase 2 is when we will start to localize those parts. So what we'll do is we will start finding North American vendors for those parts, and we will start to shift from purchasing the parts in Europe and sending them over to a localized supply base. And then those parts will then all have to be assembled. So we will grow our assembly portion that much more. And then the numbers will go up to, you know, approximately 800, 1,000 people. And then we start adding more shifts and more volume. So in the end, we're looking to produce about 35,000 trucks a year out of this facility.
That's awesome. That's just awesome. Hey, let me ask you a question, and this may be naive, but I bet some other people are wondering as well. Tell us the difference between battery and the fuel cell vehicles. What's that? What is the differentiation there?
So the differentiation is that you know, almost all heavy-duty trucks right now run on diesel, and that has been the fuel source for many years. To run on diesel, but of course we know what it takes to produce diesel and what the effects of burning diesel are on the environment. So a battery electric vehicle, or BEV, is basically a huge amount of battery cells. Cells very typical to what's in your laptop, just a whole lot more of them, and put together in a way that produces you know, a high volume of electricity. And then the drivetrain, instead of an engine driving through a traditional drivetrain, it's actually a motor. And motor is what turns the wheels on the truck. So the electric battery provides the energy for the motor. The motor is what drives the wheels. Part of the appeal to this is it's a much simpler vehicle. So if you look at all of the parts that are in your engine, every time you've had to pay to have somebody replace it, that is replaced really by a very simple motor with very few parts. And I say simple, but that's being a little bit macro. The motors are very complicated, but much simpler than an engine.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. Okay, Dr. Moran, I wanted to ask you, recently in Pinal County, I was told about a situation where a restaurant that happens to have a bar license, but instead of a restaurant liquor license, but is serving a lot of food, and people think of it as a restaurant, but it's actually got a liquor license for a bar. And ADA, the department in Arizona, the Department of Health Services, came out and actually shut them down because bars can't be operating right now. Do you have any thoughts on when we'll see bars come open, or how wise it is right now if they, you know, were to open at a smaller capacity? And maybe you can talk a little bit about schools opening, and do you think we'll see the actual schools opening? Because I know a lot of us have kids who are sitting online doing their classes, or maybe they're playing Fortnite, but they're supposed to be doing their classes right now. So what are your thoughts on that?
So regarding certain types of businesses that have been closed as a response to the spike that we saw late June, early July, certainly if we understand the way the virus is transmitted, we can classify certain activities as high, moderate, or low risk. It's the high risk activities that were targeted initially or targeted mainly. And bars are one of them, because obviously understanding that transmission is blunted by wearing masks. Nobody can eat or drink wearing a mask. Transmission is higher within indoors settings, and with the heat of Arizona, it is impossible to have an outdoors bar or restaurant. And the virus is transmitted more efficiently when there is crowded situation, which is essentially a bar or a full capacity, or a restaurant functioning at full capacity. So essentially the explanation for why certain businesses were targeted more than other businesses lies in the virology and the epidemiology of this pandemic. Obviously, I think the improvement on the number of cases has been multifactorial. Like I mentioned, the social distancing, people staying at home more, the closing of certain high risk activities has helped. And obviously from the medical standpoint and the epidemiological standpoint, it is necessary to lower down the level of activity for those high risk environments. And this is something that I've learned in the last 6 months, which is there is no need for public health to be in opposite ends with economy. Actually, the right answer lies in the middle, where using the proper public health rules or norms to prevent or slow down the transmission, you can more safely reopen the economy. So they're not actually on opposite ends. The perfect answer lies exactly in the collaboration between the two of them, which means that there's going to be some compromise from both ends to actually make it work. And also means that it's not going to look, opening businesses now is not going to look like January 2020. It's going to have to be a phased approach. The ADHS has put out some guidelines to open, specifically to your question of bars and restaurants, depending on the level of transmission of the infection in the community. And the lower the level, the more, the higher the closer to what it was in January we can see. But it takes months, it takes time. And like I mentioned before, it's going to be an up and down curve until we find a vaccine or a way that most of the population will be infected so that infection will not be as prevalent. Regarding schools, the same principles apply in terms of you want to see low transmission in the community before safely opening schools. As you know, I have been advising many schools here in Arizona, both private and public, and the principles are all the same. So the premise is, as the American Association of Pediatrics, the CDC, the American Academy of Medicine and Sciences have all put out statements that it's of utmost importance to open schools. Children do better in the school environment, particularly children in elementary school, but in general, children all ages. But it has to be done in a safe way. In other words, putting the proper protocols and the environment of a low community transmission. And we take that example from other countries in the world that have successfully reopened schools. But in those countries, they have done so amidst a much lower community transmission level than we have right now. So the approach is all phased. And like I said, the IDHS put out guidelines for restaurants, bars, gyms, and put out certain metrics that have to be accomplished before safely reopening. And even at the time of reopening, it should be done at lower capacity, and then slowly, as the community transmission continues to be down, slowly add on. So the perfect setting for a restaurant or a bar would be outdoors, socially distanced, and limiting capacity, which goes along with socially distanced. And hopefully we'll get there soon. I mean, the community transmission has gotten significantly better, and probably certain businesses like gyms will open first because the regulations are a little less stringent than for bars. Another comment is that because of the way bars were reopened when, mid-May, the governor gave the go-ahead for reopening businesses, it was probably opened not in a phased way. So for certain businesses, not all of them, but there were certain areas where there were outbreaks or association of outbreaks with certain businesses reopening, and that led to closing them again. So again, I think the key goes on, it should be done. Public health measures do not, they can actually work together with economy, and that should be the way, so that we reopen safely and gradually into hopefully as close as possible to what we know as our normal. But that's not going to be possible, again, like I said, for at least a year, and which is an arbitrary. I saw a question saying, why do you keep saying a year? It is because of predictions on how much, or how long it will take to achieve enough immunity through a vaccine to be able to stop or slow down the transmission when we go back to socializing or interacting or working as we knew before the pandemic.
Thank you, Doctor. That's very helpful. And please keep your questions coming. We'll take some more questions here in a bit. Supervisor Miller, wondering about some of the questions were about other types of uses. Well, first of all, there was some clarification that there are a lot of residential homes that are already permitted to be built that haven't been built, like a lot. And I don't know if you can quantify that, but we're not at any kind of standstill in terms of that. But talk to us about industrial development or RV development. Are those kinds of things being affected? And then also, if you might just touch on what is the plan for the next legislative session? Is there legislation that all of us can support that might be helpful to this effort? Or what should we be doing? What should we expect?
Yes, thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
Let's go to the legislation first. I saw David Cook respond to that. We had some legislation before the state last year. We got through the House, got the floor vote, got to the Senate, got the committee vote, ready to go to the floor for the Senate, and then COVID hit. So, and that legislation for Reader's Digest version was about plat amendments, where there are certificates, as you pointed out a minute ago. There are a lot of certificates out there that are already issued on plats, but as the development community understands and knows, products change, desires change. So there's actually, this bill would allow a company to come in that owns a bunch of lots and they want to reconfigure them, they want to come up with a new product. As long as they don't exceed the assured water that they have designated for that plat, as long as they can rearrange that plat, they can change it around and use it and put it back on the market or use it for another product. I think the place where we see this as being one of the more sensible ones is elimination of golf courses, where there's a lot of water use there. Maybe it's better to just go ahead and turn those golf courses into subdivisions without golf courses and take advantage of that. So appreciate David's support on that, and we will be taking that before the legislature this year. As far as the quantifying, I hate to really use the numbers. I hear numbers like 20,000 lots in the Casa Grande area. So yeah, we're not out of certificated lots or lots that have certificates of water already applied to it, which is a good thing, is a great thing, because now we have time to resolve this issue so we can go forward. And I know that it's frustrating for the development community because it's not maybe moving quite as fast as they'd like to see it move, but it'll be a baby step process and we're getting there. So I do want to emphasize that it is moving forward, even though it seems like it's not. I saw a question in here, I believe, about information or something to that effect. We have developed a map that is very, very interesting, and we hope to at some point be able to make it an interactive map for people to use that show where the unmet demands are. We show where the shallow wells are. We show the depth of aquifers where wells may be able to be located. So there's a lot of good information on that map. It's kind of being used internally for right now, but at some point it'll be something that people can draw on if they're interested in looking at a specific area to this Pinal AMA. So that's kind of a sidebar thing that we've got going. And I hope at some point we can really make it public to everyone to be able to use.
Thank you for that. Industrial and RVs, other types of developments, yeah.
You know, and that's another separate category that we're kind of working on. Now, as far as an RV park, and if you have a well and you want to develop an RV park, you can do that as long as you don't sell more than 5 lots. And this is all tied to real estate law. It doesn't have much to do with the development community. But it does have to do with the real estate, and that's where the certificate of assured water comes into play. Is after 5 lots, be it industrial or be it residential, it doesn't matter. If it's subdivided and it's more than 5 lots, then it requires a certificate of assured water. So, and another issue that we're dealing with is Pinal County is seeded with I don't know how many. I don't even want to try and put a number to it, but individual wells that are being used for either RV parks or mobile home parks or little DWIDs, those are independent little water systems where they only serve maybe 20 or 25 people in an area. The county is seeded with a lot of those in different areas. And it's our hope that we can come up with policies that might make those more dependable. And because we do get a lot of complaints, and I'm going to kind of jump. The county gets complaints about those types of issues, and the county has no authority to fix them. So there's some disconnect there. So we hope to maybe end up with some policies with the Department of Water Resources, how these smaller water systems out there can have some more security going forward as well, either tied into a bigger system or allow them to be part of another co-op or something. So anyway.
Thank you for that. Okay, so Mark, there's a lot of people on the Zoom who want to know how they can do business with Nikola. How do they approach you as a vendor, as a supplier? Give us your home phone number or whatever.
Yeah, so I would love to do that, but fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not the guy that gets to actually make all of those decisions. So there's two categories of what people, what we've seen that people want to work with us. And the first part is in the building of the facility and the rest. So as I said, our contractor is Walbridge. And if anybody's in the building trades or is looking to provide materials or services in the construction phase, I'm sure you would know already how to contact Walbridge through their purchasing department. And if you let them know that you're local and you're interested in working on the Coolidge project, they will certainly put you in touch with the right people to do that. As for services,
that you had breakfast with Mark this morning.
And that you had breakfast with Mark, and I'm sure that my friends at Walbridge will appreciate when the phone starts ringing. But truly, we want to work with local vendors as much as possible. Of course, everything comes down to it has to be the right price, and it has to be the right availability, and it has to be the right product. And I think if given a choice to work with a local vendor over working with somebody who's not local, we would certainly choose the local vendor, as I'm sure Walbridge would as well. So that's the building and the construction part. For working with Nikola, it's really the same thing. I think through our website or calling the number that's listed for Nikola, there's an opportunity to connect with our purchasing and our supply chain department. My counterpart, my colleague in supply chain, is amazing. The fact that he answers almost every inquiry that is made about providing services for Nikola. And I know that he has the same opinion as I do, that we would love to work locally as much as possible. So you can find that if you write through our website.
Thank you. One other question: synergy with Lucid. Is there a lot? Is there little? Is that helpful? And then also with Mexico, is there some supply, any kind of benefit for our proximity?
Yeah. So let me answer the Lucid question first. What's really interesting is that the EV market is a small world. Most of the guys who work at Lucid are ex-colleagues of mine from previous companies. We all know each other. We're all friends. Most of us are friends. So there's a lot of potential synergies for our companies. We do a lot of the same work. I've always said in my career since I started in EVs that they're not competitors. None of us are competitors. There is room in the world of vehicles for all of us. And it's going to take it'll take a village to move the world to a more sustainable future. So we're not really concerned about competition or anything else, and it's much better if we work together. I actually have a meeting next week with the Lucid guys. We're going to talk about those synergies that you're talking about. There's a lot of possibilities, from everything from training to supply chains, through to potential collaboration. I think anything is possible, and because we're both startup companies, we're both open to almost any suggestions.
Great. It's great. Well, we're just very blessed to have you here in Pinal County and in Arizona. And thanks, Mark. I know the last time I think we actually got to see each other was in person. That might have been the last Pinal Partnership meeting that we had in person, and hopefully that'll be soon. Dr. Moran, maybe you can just in 1 minute or less tell us, is everybody going to need the vaccine? Or if you, I see this as a question, if you had the virus, will you not necessarily need to be vaccinated?
Well, those are two questions. So I'll start with, will everyone need the vaccine? The short answer is yes. The real question is, will everyone get it on the first round? And it depends on what kind of vaccine gets approved. There are two different types of vaccine, and there will be contraindications or people who want or should, in whom it would not be safe. Certainly what we know so far is that who will receive it first is people who are at high risk if they get, one, to get the infection, and two, if they get the infection, high risk to die. So those are the preliminary plans. The second question was, if someone got the infection, will that person need the vaccine? And that answer is not known. However, preliminary data shows that after 3 months, the antibodies that one mounts once get the infection start waning down. So, and based on what we know from other coronaviruses, it is very likely that this will be a vaccine that will need to be repeated at intervals like the flu vaccine. But all this is still up in the air. It's too soon. It takes years to gather this knowledge, and we've only been on these 8 or 9 months, although it feels like 20 years.
Amen. Indeed it does. Indeed it does. Well, I thank you to the 3 all-star panelists. You guys are changing our worlds in such great ways, and it's really wonderful to have you here today. So thank you for that. Thanks to Harold and Melissa and Supervisor Miller. We know the countless hours that have gone into this project that you've taken on as a volunteer with other volunteers to save our county's future. And I think as a board, we just wanted to particularly take a moment to thank you for that leadership. Thanks to everyone. Let's have a great day, and we will see you in just a few weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.